How's it going, you guys? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the top reasons why a ketogenic diet just makes people feel superhuman and why ketogenic diets work so well. So in this video, I will be reading off of an outline simply because there's a lot of points I want to touch on, and I want to touch on them in the most effective way, both time effective and logically and effective, so people can follow along easier than my free-flowing videos off the top of my head. So I just spent like 5 minutes writing down my main points. So here we go. So number one is the upregulation of GABA. And it directly reduces levels of anxiety. It promotes better sleep, less cortisol, and more relaxation. Basically, the upregulation of GABA that happens as a result of ketogenic metabolism just promotes a healthier nervous system. Keep in mind, GABA is neuroprotective. GABA is also a direct antagonist of glutamate. So people who produce too much glutamate, they tend to have epilepsy. This is one of the reasons why ketogenic diets are so effective for epilepsy, because glutamate actually causes neurons to overfire and die, which causes seizures. And so the upregulation of GABA and the downregulation of glutamate automatically reduces the incidences of seizures, simply because you remove the main mechanism in which seizures occur, which happens to be overexcitation of neurons through overexcitation from glutamate, essentially. So this is also why many people use ketogenic diets in the biohacking community, because it increases cognition through these mechanisms and through other mechanisms I'm about to discuss here in the future. This is also why ketogenic diets tend to help people sleep, as long as they're eating enough protein and calories, which most people on traditional ketogenic diets are not, because they're scared that protein is going to kick them out of ketosis, which is not true. And I'll discuss that later on. So yeah, I mean, if you have anxiety, insomnia, or stress-related issues, you might want to look into the ketogenic diet, specifically the way that I prescribe it, or the way. I'm not a doctor, guys. I'm not prescribing treatments for illnesses or anything like that. But the way I suggest a ketogenic diet will probably help most people with these problems. So anyway, you basically, so when you eat a ketogenic diet, by default, you are eating a low carbohydrate diet. Your body, you're basically eating under 20 grams of net carbs, preferably under 30 grams of total carbohydrates, but at least for the first 4 weeks, and then you can add more fibrous vegetables and low carb fruits and things once your body adapts, which can take anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks before your body actually starts to use ketones. So fun fact here, within the first 3 days of keeping carbohydrates, net carbs, under 20 grams, typically your body will start to produce ketones. But production of ketones is not the same as using ketones. So when you pee on ketone sticks, and it says that your ketones in your urine are super high, it's not actually a good thing. What that means is your body's producing ketones, but it doesn't actually mean that your body is utilizing fat for fuel yet. Because when your body starts to burn ketones, you'll actually have a lower urinary ketone reading, because instead of being pissed out in the urine, your ketones will be utilized by the body's cells. So same thing with blood ketone meters as well. So it's not necessarily a good thing to have, it's not a good thing to have ketones in your urine or even hanging around in your blood for long periods of time. So your body will start to use those ketones for fuel after about 2 to 8 weeks, okay? Anyway, low carb, oh yeah, so, you know, low blood glucose and insulin levels lead to better energy and better health throughout the day. So you have no blood sugar spikes, and so after eating meals, you won't feel lethargic, you won't feel, tired or anything like that. Like most people, they eat their cereal in the morning, they feel tired, they feel like hungry, they feel lethargic 3 hours later, Whereas when I drink my bulletproof coffee, high in fat and protein, because I add whey and collagen protein to it, I feel so good and it keeps me satiated for as long as I want to go without food. When you eat protein and when you eat fat. So when you eat protein, it actually increases a hormone called glucagon. And what glucagon does is it actually lowers your blood sugar and it lowers your insulin. It's an antagonist of insulin. It basically promotes the excretion of energy so that your body actually starts to burn more energy when you eat protein versus carbohydrates. They promote insulin, and insulin is actually an energy storage hormone. It shuttles nutrients into the cells, it shuttles glucose into the muscles, into the liver, and also into the fat stores. And so glucagon promotes the excretion of energy, and when you excrete energy, you're utilizing energy. But when you're storing energy, it's anabolic, meaning building, meaning storing, meaning sleeping. Okay. Now, yeah, if you are triggered by that, I'll have to discuss that in another video. But basically, yeah, so you have higher energy because your body is using infinite source, virtually, tens of thousands of calories worth of body fat stores as fuel. That can last all day, that can last all week. People can go much longer without eating food when their body's utilizing their body fat as fuel. Versus carbohydrate-based metabolism, you're going to be running out of energy every couple hours and needing to eat more carbs, and you will be craving more carbs as well. So you're not a slave to food when you're on a ketogenic diet. It's amazing. This is why people report having so much more energy. It's why endurance athletes use it. It's why I can do powerlifting training and MMA training for hours and not really have too much of an energy crash. So number 3, low carb means little to no grains, beans, legumes, and other foods that people actually tend to be unknowingly intolerant to or allergic to. This can actually lead to better digestion, less intestinal gas, and less intestinal problems in general, as well as feeling healthier and more energetic overall. So a lot of people, they get this skinny fat type belly where their whole body is skinny, but then they have a bulging belly. And this looks a lot like orangutans and gorillas who have these big ass bellies because they're fermenting all this plant food. Now, obviously, I have nothing against plant foods at all. I think for many people can be beneficial, but there are a large amount of people who have food intolerances. The most common are going to be the very foods you're cutting out in a ketogenic diet, which are whole grains. These are very high in, and for one, harder to digest outer coatings of these foods. Many people actually see brown rice and oatmeal and all this stuff in the toilet. I did when I was vegan for an entire year. It was horrible. And this can be very difficult to digest, especially in large amounts. It's why most people have soaked these grains, cooked them for long periods of time, sprouted grains for so long, and even that might not help some people. So these foods can cause drastic problems for many people. And there are actually a select few people who have such severe gut dysbiosis that the only thing that can really help them is completely removing all plant foods and doing a strict carnivore diet. Now, I don't recommend that for the vast majority of people. It's more of a tool, as a therapy for people who have issues, gut issues. But I'll discuss this further in a video on gut bacteria and gut dysbiosis later on, how the gut bacteria actually works. But essentially, most people tend to feel so much better when they remove grains, beans, legumes, and other foods. Obviously, things like irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease can be directly caused by these hard to digest plant foods, and so many problems can be caused by grains, beans, legumes, even nuts and seeds and things of that nature. You'll feel a whole lot better and less sluggish when all the energy in your body is not going towards your intestines, but are going towards your brain and your heart, to promote circulation and mental clarity. This is actually a secret cause underlying underlying most people's brain fog is these harder to digest foods. And I know for me, this was a big game changer. So, number 4, ketogenic diets make your mitochondria more efficient. Okay, and I'll be, talking briefly on this in this video, but I'll have to touch even deeper in a later video. Number 5, ketogenic diets are called ketogenic because they literally change your entire metabolism to switch over to burning your actual body fat stores as energy. So, your body fat stores has, I think I read something like 20 to 50,000 calories stored as energy. Okay, so when we talk about caloric balance, and like being in a caloric deficit and stuff, like however much energy you're burning throughout the day is going to draw that, it's got to draw that energy from somewhere. And when we talk about energy, we're talking about calories. Calories are just thermic energy. And so burning body fat, burning calories through physical exercise and just living your body's everyday metabolic processes, heartbeat, respiration, digestion, all of these things require calories for fuel. Even sleeping burns calories. And so when you're constantly consuming glucose, your body actually has to burn through glucose first before it can tap into body fat stores. And so, calories in versus calories out, it applies, but you got to remember your body can actually take those calories from your body fat stores once that glucose has been burned off. And so that's why ketogenic diets, they just seem to cause effortless fat loss. Okay, it's because you're literally burning the stored calories in your body fat instead of the calories from external sources like cereal foods and things. Okay. So again, your entire body is now utilizing body fat as fuel, which means it has a never-ending supply of energy. Unlike glucose-based metabolism, where you must consume exogenous sources of glucose every couple hours to avoid energy crashes. This also drastically lowers the possibility of gaining body fat, because your body is just using whatever body fat it has already as energy. Your body has thousands, tens of thousands of calories stored as body fat. Even in lean individuals, people with 8 to 12% body fat, they still have thousands and thousands of calories stored. Compare that to the small amount of finite glucose calories that people must consume every day from external sources. The body can only store a very small fraction of the calories that you consume every day as glucose and glycogen. And so that means you've got to constantly refuel this small amount of caloric storage from glucose. Whereas body fat, you can go weeks, you can go days, weeks, hours, months, well, not months, but a long time without eating when your body is feasting on its body fat. It's a very long burning fuel source. Number 6, when your body is running on glucose, it must burn through glucose calories before ever being able to actually tap into its body fat stores of caloric energy, which is why high carb diets with caloric surplus creates fat gain. Your body is using externally consumed glucose first. It cannot burn body fat until it burns those glucose calories first. So there's actually been a few experiments done I've seen a popular ketogenic vlogger who did an experiment where he was force feeding himself 6,000 calories a day, trying to eat a caloric surplus, literally 3,000 calories over the amount he's burning every day, to see if he can gain body fat. And what he found is eating extra fat and extra protein calories did not result in body fat gain. In fact, he actually gained more muscle and lowered his body fat from doing this. Now, I'll have to look for that. I know y'all can search that yourselves if you're really interested. But there's a number of scientific studies that I've seen over the last couple years that also inferred that this was either possible or true. So let's see. Number 7. By default, you're consuming more fat-soluble nutrients and animal proteins, which average modern diets are extremely deficient in. Unless, of course, you're following a vegan or junk food, lazy type of keto protocol where all you eat is like vegetable oils and, keto junk food and shit like that. You're probably not going to get very much nutrients from plant-based oils and vegetable oils and stuff. In fact, you're going to get an abundance of omega-6 inflammatory polyunsaturated fats and not enough omega-3 polyunsaturated fats. So, the fact is, unless you're a vegan propagandist, American diets are very low in high-quality animal protein. They don't even really eat much red meat in general. Okay, the red meat that they do eat is in the form of hamburgers with buns, with french fries, with sodas. And, all the people I know that eat this type of diet, they only go out for hamburgers like 1 to 3 times a week. And they always have extra fries and shit on the side. And inside their house, they usually cook, like they might cook pre-made, pre-seasoned beef fajita packets that have hydrogenated oils added, and that's pretty surprising, but it's true. And they hardly really eat much red meat. The animal proteins that they actually do eat are either from processed foods or they're from dairy products. And dairy products are the main source of animal protein, animal fat in the diet, in the American diet and the modernized diets, and they're generally from ice cream and cream in their Starbucks coffee and stuff like that. There's not even real butter in restaurants anymore. There's margarine spreads. It's very hard to even find real butter. It's really crazy, but yet vegans will have you believe otherwise. And so because most modern diets are lower in vitamin K2, vitamin A from animal source, CLA, things like that, and just animal protein in general, especially from red meat, and carnitine, things of that nature, creatine. I mean, obviously they're lacking these nutrients, which might be one of the main reasons why these carnivore people get such great results, because they're eating an abundance of red meat nutrients. Even people who eat a diet based on, and almost entirely on, conventionally raised red meat, they reverse gout, they reverse arthritis, they don't get scurvy even after 2 to 10 years of being on the diet. I mean, some really insane things start to happen. And so, of course, again, I'm not saying you have to eat a carnivore diet. I'm not saying that that's like the healthiest way to go. But I'm just pointing out a fact that it seems like there's nutrients in red meat that human beings thrive on. And eating a ketogenic diet, you eat a lot more of these nutrients, So, yeah, that's important. And I actually feel like this is a big, big game changer here when it comes to health, is this fear of red meat. When you let it go and you start to embrace red meat, like I noticed such a huge improvement that when I ate a diet based on fish and chicken, when I ate, when I removed red meat, I felt so bad. And then every time I'd eat red meat, it was like, whoa, what the fuck? Why do I feel so great? And I've had, I know some vegans, some raw vegans who have these crazy, like, unscientific ideas. They say, oh, well, it's because red meat's a stimulant, bro. It's like a drug. It's like, damn, guy, you're the one who has a basket full of fruits, fruit sugar, hybridized fruits, and you're telling, sugar's been proven to be a drug. There's not even an essential carbohydrate or an essential sugar that we must consume for human health, whereas red meat has an abundance of nutrients that we know we need for health, including iron, including B vitamins, essential fats, essential proteins. They're essential, but there's really nothing in those fruits that this guy was eating, And yeah, he's telling me that red meat's a stimulant. Like, no, it's a food that people survive on for years without needing any supplements or anything like that. Compare that to vegans who always need supplements, and they're eating foods that aren't even essential, and they're lacking essential nutrients. So anyway, number 8, ketogenic diets are glycogen sparing and actually promote more efficient glycogen utilization. There's actually been studies done on marathon runners who, I believe they were running anywhere from 20 to 40 miles, I believe it was. And after the 20 to 40 mile marathon was over, whatever it was a long marathon, they found that they were fat adapted athletes on a ketogenic diet. They weren't just people who, for the experiment, ran a ketogenic diet. These people have been fat adapted. I think it was 2 to 4 months how long they've been on it. Fat adapted athletes in this study actually they got their glycogen levels measured through lab analysis, and they found that the ketogenic marathon runners actually restored glycogen faster than I think it was up to 40% faster than the carb adapted runners. Now there could be many reasons why this is. Maybe they just didn't, yeah, so that's something to look into. And I could link the study down below, but I'm just going to wait until I get better internet so that I can actually bring the study up on the screen. So right now I don't even have internet connected while I'm making this video. I have a very ghetto internet set up currently, but that will change soon so I can show studies in live action while I'm recording videos. So number 9, if glucose is needed, gluconeogenesis will convert dietary protein on a demand-driven basis. It could actually convert muscle amino acids, but that's only if you do decide to restrict protein, which is probably why a lot of people on a ketogenic diet that restrict their protein, and they're scared that protein will create sugar and kick them out of ketosis. These people tend to have less impressive body transformations compared to the people eating a higher amount of protein on a ketogenic diet. It's because protein doesn't kick you out of ketosis, and it actually makes you have much better results. So anyway, if glucose is needed, gluconeogenesis will convert it, but only on a demand-driven basis. So it can convert dietary protein or muscle protein only when needed on a demand-driven basis via gluconeogenesis. Okay. The extra protein will not kick you out of ketosis, and most people following a ketogenic diet will experience far greater results in body composition and in mental and energetic health if they aim for at least 1 gram per pound of lean mass. Okay, and if you are an athlete, you probably need more. I know for me, I've tried removing dietary protein, I tried reducing my dietary protein. Because I am about 190 pounds currently, and so I try to eat a minimum of 190 grams per day, and generally that means about 2 pounds of red meat and about maybe 6 eggs and a couple scoops of whey protein per day, along with plenty of fat. And what I did is I tried to remove 1 pound of red meat so that I was eating the traditionally recommended amount, which is something like 0.5 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. And what I noticed is I couldn't sleep all of a sudden. I felt significantly more sore in my muscles. I wasn't recovering from my workouts, and I felt depressed. Okay, and these are all. And the crazy thing is, when people switch from a keto diet to a carnivore diet, they find all these symptoms actually greatly diminish. And they find all of these areas I just mentioned, the muscle soreness, the recovery from workouts, the sleep, the energy, the mood improvement, they all drastically improve on a carnivore diet. And people think, oh, it's because I removed all plant foods. And for some people that might be true, but what I honestly feel like is people are under-eating protein on a keto diet. Okay, and on a carnivore diet, people are getting most of their calories from high protein sources. So I just feel like this whole fear of mTOR and TMAOI and getting kicked out of ketosis. I think that it's all bullshit, and I think you're doing more harm than good when you follow these low protein guidelines. Okay, especially if you follow, if you believe in hunter-gatherer hunting, lots of protein and blah blah blah, to eat more fat. If you believe in ancestral health, I think that it's more likely that humans are eating much more protein. Well, and they might not have, but it's not a matter of what is necessary or what our hunter-gatherer ancestors did or anything like that. It's more about what's optimal. And I can tell you the people who eat more protein experience much greater results. Yeah, I don't know why I mentioned that in this video. I think it's just very, very important that people understand this. So those are just the top 9 reasons why a ketogenic diet is so great, and why it works, and some general tips on it as well. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments. I hope that this has helped. Don't undereat protein, and chill out. I'll talk to y'all in the next video.